Okay, so welcome to Analyzing Blockchain. My name is Amy Gerrish, and I am an analyst and strategist. And today we're going to talk about NFTs. We're going to go into some use cases and some legal implications that I've been kind of hearing about from some attorneys here from our emerging technologies over at ASU. So let's kind of get into it. So basically, if you're new to this whole space and you have no idea what NFT is, and you have no idea what like blockchain does, then might be a little bit more technical. But I'll give you a quick rundown. So basically, an NFT stands for a non-fungible token, which is a way that content creators have been able to kind of put a digital signature on their content, artwork, and things like that. And you can track it through the blockchain. So that's really the basics of what an NFT is. Now, when it comes down to what can you do with an NFT, I think that part of this industry is still very, very young. So right now we're seeing some use cases, and let me kind of come over here and pull up my list. So right now we're seeing use cases, definitely artwork, music is a big thing. Artists and content creators specifically can attach a digital signature to, say, a song and create some ownership and kind of make sure that their work is not getting exploited. So they can control who gets to listen to their work, who gets to see their artwork, and things like that. And then people are creating like these collectible type artwork pieces that you can buy. So whereas NBA Top Shot, that's kind of like the biggest one that's been in the news in the past month or two. And they're creating kind of like these little digital like trading cards, right, for their NBA players. And when you log in and look at it, it's like a picture and then with some video, and it's a really cool concept. But me personally, I'm not a collector type personality. To me, if I'm going to spend money on something, it needs to have a purpose in my life. It needs to have a function. It needs to make my life easier. It needs to make my life better, or it needs to be entertaining. To me, trading cards and collectibles, Beanie Babies, all that type of stuff, I've never been into collecting that kind of stuff. But millions of people are. So you can see how that is kind of like a big deal. Let's talk about some other uses for it. So we talked about we talked about sports, we talked about music, we talked about collectibles. So gaming, this is a big deal, I feel like, in the NFT world that can really take off. So for example, if you're a gamer, right, and you're playing Call of Duty or one of those types of war games, and you have to spend some money inside the game and upgrade your weapon or something like that. I don't know if you can do that in that game. But that kind of functionality of you bought that weapon and then you can't take it with you, say, to another game or another game by that creator. It stays in that game. So in the gaming world, I can see this becoming a thing where you can purchase, an asset within a game and take it with you game to game or place to place, or put it in a marketplace where you can then sell it to somebody else who needs that weapon. Something like that. I feel like that is already kind of a thing that's happening. So to me, that's an interesting part of gaming, where people have more control over the assets that they purchase. Another use case is if you're in business, and like for me, I carry a real estate license. I have to get certifications. I have to get CEUs every 2 years. So all of those kinds of things, certifications, you can create a token, a non-fungible token, to kind of track that certification and asset. And as a quick verification of, yes, this person is certified, here is that token, digital token, not real, but here it is, and it's trackable on the blockchain, and it's immutable. So Oh, what else is there? So like I said, since I'm not like the person that likes to collect things, I think that um I think another really cool thing is that, oh, so before I get into this, so Gary Vaynerchuk is launching an NFT platform, or I believe May 5th. So that's coming up. And I feel like that's something to watch for because Gary has his finger on the pulse and he understands human behavior, usability, and using it for either, an entertainment use or some kind of, it'll bring value and something that people would use. So I feel like Gary's a content creator. He loves all of that kind of stuff. And I just feel like his use of an NFT, and I have no idea what he's about to drop. I have no idea what the platform looks like, but I feel like he has his finger on the pulse and he kind of understands, like kind of feels like the same way I do, where I'm not just going to buy like a pixel art and spend hundreds of dollars on something that like you can look at in your phone. I don't know. So I feel like his is going to be more like usable, that you can actually do something with it. So I feel like and that's why I wanted to mention him, because going into the gamification of platforms, NFT will allow you to do that. Just like I mentioned with buying assets for like a video game that you can reuse and have more control over, is that creating more gamification on platforms and making it more fun to use certain platforms, that you'd be able to buy like certain assets or to upgrade or things like that. I mean, there's so many use cases for it that I really can't wait to see what Gary has to drop on May 5th. So let's go into kind of like the legal ramifications, though, of NFTs, because I feel like it's something that isn't really being talked about so much. Is that, as somebody, if you were to buy a collectible or a digital art piece or music or something like that, I feel like people aren't understanding that when you buy something, when they say like, oh, it's immutable and like you own it, and it can't change. But when you're buying it, you have to make sure that, are you understanding, do you have copyrights to the asset that you're buying? So would you be able to use it in a way that you want to use it? So you have to understand what your rights are when you're buying an NFT, because right now it doesn't seem like that is clear. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more going into like property rights and like ownership rights. So when we're talking about when we're talking about an NFT, it's basically a smart contract, right? So you're coming into a contract of, yes, you're going to buy this, but you need to understand what rights are attached to it within that contract. But because I think a lot of people are buying something that they think they have the rights to when they really don't. And some people are creating NFTs and they don't even have the right to use whatever image or music or song that is in the NFT. So there's been already a lot of people like creating NFTs and are already ripping off other people's work. So it's very, very important that you understand what your rights are in buying this NFT and like what your enjoyment value is. If you're buying something as an investment in hopes for like reselling it later, is it truly, do you truly have that copyright ability to like be like, I'm selling this artwork later on, or this digital asset, and the person that created it, were they really the person that created it? So there's a lot of like weird stuff happening in the NFT world right now related to those smart contracts, because at the end of the day, the smart contracts aren't really like the court system and lawyers, they aren't really ready to take on a case if something happens with your smart contract and you thought you were buying something with certain rights and availability, and you found out you didn't have it at all. And so attorneys are like, I don't know what to do with this because it's not a real contract in the eyes of like the court. So there's needs to be more foundation built in the court system and understanding what, like, if there's really legalities, like real, like lawful rights around a smart contract. So for instance, like in the world of real estate, since I am a real estate agent here in Arizona, I write contracts as a part of my license, right? I don't need an attorney to write a contract to buy or sell a house. I can do that here in Arizona. In Arizona, so we're like a non-attorney state, whereas some states, a real estate agent can kind of write the offer, but they have to hand it off to an attorney to actually, make the contract enforceable. And we write contracts here on property, and the most common ownership type of property here is fee simple. And when you have property that is fee simple, there is a bundle of rights that come with it. And so it's easier to buy and sell like this real property because there's legal standing and contract law all around real estate and property. And so when you're selling something that is like a fee simple thing, you have these rights that are kind of you get possession, that's your right, that you can possess it, whether you live in something or you own something, you have that possession, it's yours, right? You have equity, right? You have the legality of equity. So if you wanted to take out a loan against that property, you can do that because you can prove that it's yours by the deed, and you have that equitable right to put up a loan against it. You have you have the saleability that you can resell this later because it's yours. So with an NFT, that kind of brings up, some questionably like gray area about, do you own this, but do you have the rights to sell it? Because were you ever given the copyrights to like resale something, right? Because there's copyright law is not really my specialty, but all of that is going to be brought up. So it's something to think about when buying artwork or media in an NFT. And so I think for use cases and, figuring out if NFTs are going to be good for like your business or your industry, you have to look at the foundation of, what are the legal ramifications. So I think that as your business or personally, are you going to get into NFTs as an investment or as something that, that you could monetize, that you should really seek some legal counsel, because right now, like the foundation just isn't there. And in order to even do a smart contract for real estate right now, it's like we have to make sure that everybody's on board, that this is a binding legal contract in the way that it would be if I were to write out a contract and have the buyer and seller sign it, and that it's a fee simple transaction. And can we write that into a smart contract for some type of ownership via an NFT tokenized ownership? So those are some things to think about with NFTs. I think it's very complicated. I think it's a very buzzword right now. There's a lot of people like buying like collectibles and things like that. Like I said, me personally, I'm not a collectible type person. I don't spend my money or invest in those types of things. Not to say that it's one way or another. This is an investment advice. We're just talking about, NFTs and what is the future of them. So I think that there is good use cases that can come out of NFTs. I think that collectibles might be like the Beanie Baby of the NFT in 2021, but you just never know. So that's what I have to say about NFTs today. And thank you for visiting Analyzing Blockchain. If you like what you heard, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I try to put out videos weekly so that we can keep the discussion going as we learn about new things and analyze them.